Happy New Year to all my YouTube family. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. I hope it was extremely blessed. You spent some time with your family, your loved ones, and made great memories. It's 2024, and we are starting off just on fire for God and whatever He's doing in our lives individually, but collectively in the body of Christ. I'm super excited from what I know God is doing, and I am here today to do the season finale or the grand finale of this mini series, How God Delivered Me from Cycles of Narcissistic, Demonic, and Toxic Relationships. Okay, so welcome to my channel. It's your girl Janelle Renee, and this is Redefining Woman's Worth, where we're all things just redefining our worth and living at our best self, right? Living whole, living healed, right? Living unapologetically who we are, right? Who God created us to be, like being very secure, being very steadfast, being very, sure of who we are in Christ, right? And what it is he created us to do in this earth for his glory, amen. And even when it comes to our testimony, the word is very clear in Revelation. It tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of thine testimony. So it is so important for us to testify for the goodness of God and how he brought us out of different situations, or how he's answered our prayers, how he's healed our bodies, how he's performed miracles, signs, wonders. We always want to give all glory to him. So this series is not about me. It's all about him. That's why my shirt say, but God, because it is by his grace that I'm here, that I'm capable in my right mind to even come and tell y'all the things that I went through, because there are so many things that I did not say. And because I'm not at liberty to say, the Lord has not released me to do so. But part of the reason why I did the series the way I did it is because I feel like that a lot of times us women are in these relationships and we don't know. Like, I didn't know. Like, it took a long time for me to realize that I was truly in an abusive relationship. And really, I didn't even hear about the word narcissistic until well after, me and him had stopped communicating. But when I have learned about what that term means and kind of like what is associated with it, and when I've heard about even talk things like the Jezebel spirit and just the characteristics, the personality of that spirit, right, it really literally fit my ex sis, and it's in particularly my ex number 3 to the T. And it's interesting how almost every woman's testimony that I have heard that has been in these type of relationships with these type of individuals, it's a pattern. There is a pattern, like in the person, in their behavior, but it's also a pattern in their victim of choice, right? Because when you think about Ahab, right? Ahab was the king, but he was very passive. And so when he married Jezebel, and she was of a different, she was a foreigner. She was I think, were they Sodomites or Sidonians, maybe, I think. And her father was like the king of Sidon or something. But she was a very, very strong-willed, strong personality type woman. She was more so like very masculine in her energy and in her ways. And so she was the one who took on the leadership role in that relationship. So even though he was the physical king of Israel, she was basically ruling through him. And that is what that spirit seeks to do, right? Normally, that particular spirit is going to want to attach itself to someone who, quote unquote, has a more passive spirit. So you may be a people pleaser, right? You might have low self-esteem. You might have some insecurity. You might have a history of sexual abuse or physical abuse or trauma that you have not healed from, that allows you to be in a place of, not being strong in your voice, right? Maybe you've been silenced before. You tried to speak up, but no one believes you. There's so many things that contribute to how we get the way we are. And because that spirit wants to dominate, it's going to want to seek an individual. In this instance, like a man is going to seek a woman out who has that more like broken personality, right? Like a more broken state, like that she's not secure in who she is. She has not redefined her worth. She's not healed, right? She just is wants the desire and wants love, right? Just wants to be loved. And And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just because I still want to be loved, but we have to understand that what love is, right? And what love is not. And when we're not clear on that, we accept behaviors and we accept things from people that in the name of love, that is not love. And so because that was who I was, and that is why it wasn't just one toxic, narcissistic relationships I was in. I was in several, because I continued to attract the same type of person. And so, I wanted to be as specific as possible to give different signs and red flags, and even my own experience and like what that looked like, because I ignored the red flags. I ignored Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit gave me a way out several times. And because I was just so adamant on wanting to be in a relationship and wanting to be loved and wanting to be married, that I did not really want to see it. And it's not even though it was a conscious thing. It was just that I just believed his lies. I fell under the bewitchment of him knowing how to say all the right things, do the right things, him knowing how to be a gentleman, and knowing how to be loving and caring and considerate and attentive. He had the capacity. He has done it on more than one occasion, multiple times during our relationship. So he had the ability to be that guy, but that's just not who he wanted to be. And so I just wanted to hang on to potential, right? And that's another thing that I feel like a lot of us women, where we get caught up at. We want to hang on the potential of what we see he could be. Or we see a little piece, right? He give us a little piece of goodness. And then we just take that and we hold on to it. And we hold on to it for dear life. And we just believe that one day it's going to blossom and it's going to manifest to who he just is. And he's going to be this wonderful, amazing man. And we're going to have this amazing, happily ever after. And it may happen for some. But for a lot of us, it does not, right? The frog never turns into the prince. He stays a frog. And sometimes he turns into something else. And so it's so important for me to do this, because I don't want anyone, man or woman, my sister or brother, to go through what I went through. I can't even really put into words, really. Like, I've tried my best in these different videos that I've done to put into words really what I was going through, really the torment. And I want to get more into the spiritual part before I really bring everything to a close, because I think we as believers in particular, right, we really got to be more aware of the spiritual realm that's all around us. And everything is spiritual, like, because everything originates from the spirit realm. That's the genesis, that's the origin. And so when you are dealing with these people, it's easy to get caught up on this physical human being, this person, and their behavior, and what they're doing. But in reality, the truth is there's a spirit there. And I think I left this one part out of one of the other episodes that I really should have entered in. And it just came to my mind. So I'm going to say there was a time early on, like within that first year, I would say within the first 8-9 months, where again, I had no really awareness or really understanding of the spirit world and like demonic influences and demons and all these other things, right? I didn't know. I wasn't in a church, and I wasn't in a ministry or a community that was teaching on that, right? So I really didn't have a really knowledge of it at all. And I remember I had let him borrow some money, and because he gave me this sad story why he needed to borrow, but he promised he would give it right back. So we was in a relationship, so I didn't really I felt low in my spirit that I shouldn't have done it, right? I really did. But, it wasn't because I didn't think he would not pay me back, but it was just something in me telling me don't do it. But lo and behold, I said no a couple times, and he just continued doing it, and I gave in, okay? And so I wasn't tripping, because I'm like, he'll give it back. So when he came back, because he was out of town, when he came back in town, he was supposed to give it back then. And, I didn't really press the issue. And it came a point in time where I wanted the money because I was about to go hang out with one of my girls. And so one of the clear attributes of someone who is, toxic, right, or dysfunctional, whether you want to call them narcissistic, a sociopath, right, controlling, he was like, he was very like passive aggressive, right? So it was this passive aggressive controlling behavior. And so I tell him like, hey, you told me you was gonna give me my money, da da da. You haven't gave it to me yet, but I need it now because me and her, we about to go hang out. So he like, you about to go do what? It turned into a whole thing. So mind you, she out in the car, and I'm in the house, in the bedroom, going back and forth with him about my money, because it wasn't even the fact that he didn't have the money, because he had the money to give me. It was the mere fact that I wanted to go hang out with one of my girls, that he decided that he was not going to give me my money because he felt that that was going to prevent me from being able to go have a good time with my friend. So I'm arguing with this dude, and he pulls the money out and everything. So I knew he had the money, and I'm just like, give me my money. It's my money. You borrowed it. I didn't give it to you. Like, what is the problem? He like, no, you ain't about to go nowhere. You ain't about to go nowhere. Like, you don't need no money. Like, if you go, you ain't getting no money. You ain't going with no money. Like, he was just really taunting me. And that's another thing that a lot of those spirits will have, like an antagonistic type of personality. So he was like taunting me, and he knew it was making me upset because I was getting livid. Like, I was so frustrated because I'm like, it's my money. I don't understand. Like, I gave it to you in good faith because you needed it, supposedly. The right thing for you to do is just to give me my money. It don't matter what I want to do with it, right? And so we going back and forth to the point I just said, forget it, because I had other money. It wasn't none of his business, but I had other money. So I just was like, you know what, I'm out of here. So I left. I was leaving anyway. So I'm just like, I'm not about to let him stop, because I knew that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to stop me from going to have a good time. And so I'm like still heated, and I get in the car, and she could tell by my face something was wrong. So she's like, what's wrong? And before I could even say anything, this dude opens up the window and the screen and sticks his head out and just started like taunting me, like, aha, you think you going somewhere, you ain't getting your money, you ain't got your money, and like had the money, and like, waving the money out the window. And I couldn't believe it. Number one, I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed that this dude in front of her, like, she in the car looking right at him, and he acting like this. And I remember her words to me. She was like, oh, I know that spirit. She was like, that's an antagonistic spirit. She's like, my sister has the same spirit. I deal with that with my sister. I heard her when she said it, but because I just had no knowledge or awareness of what she really meant by spirit, I didn't know. And like, I didn't know spirits could inhabit people. I didn't know spirits, more times than not, we're dealing with spirits through people. We think it's a person when they have a certain attitude or behavior, or, a certain way about themselves. We always just assume it's that person choosing. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times that spirit, that's the manifestation of what type of spirit it is. And when you think about the Jezebel spirit, right, this is just a spirit of witchcraft, a spirit of control, a spirit of manipulation, because control and manipulation and rebellion is as witchcraft. And so what that spirit seeks to do, it brings other spirits with it. So that's why sometimes it's not easy to identify if you are aware of the spiritual realm. If you do have some knowledge of demonology and things like that, sometimes it's hard to identify the Jezebel spirit, because the Jezebel spirit will often hide behind these other spirits. So there will be an antagonistic spirit, right? There will be a spirit of seduction where the person could be very overly sexual, right? They're just very, very, very perverted. It really kind of can border, being raunchy, and, being, where that is not like becoming, and it's not like inviting anymore. It's really kind of getting like repulsive, because it's just like they're just driven by sexuality, and they could, have addictions to masturbation, to porn, or have some weird sexual fetishes or lifestyles that you may or may not know about, because it often will come with a spirit of seduction. Because one of the ways that Jezebel work, whether Jezebel is in a man or woman, is through sex. Is through seduction. So they'll oftentimes use sex or sexual advances, right? Or sexual behavior, or just utilize, maybe they're very attractive and they know it. And so they'll utilize their looks and their attractiveness to allure you and to captivate you and things like that. And that's, and looking back, it's like, wow, he did all of that, but I didn't know. And so I thought it was interesting because that was, again, where the Lord in his graciousness was trying to show me, like, I'm involved with, and I'm dealing with something way more than what I even can imagine. Like, I'm not dealing with an individual here. I'm dealing with all the devils, all the demons that were inhabiting this person, that are manifesting and through this person at any given moment. Because I've seen them outright manifest. He's manifested in front of me. He has, the spirit in him has spoke out of him, and he was cold, knocked out, didn't even open his eyes, drunk, in a drunken stupor. And I was praying over him, and the spirit was like, I hear you, don't do that. Spoke right to me. I've seen his face go from, looking normal to looking very, like, distorted and like transformed and stuff like that, because that spirit was manifesting. And again, I didn't really know what I was dealing with in the moment. I started to do more research, and the Lord started to, allow me to come across other ministers and teachers that were teaching on these things. So I started, as I was in it, getting more revelation and understanding, like, okay, what is this? But by the time that happened, I was so already deep in. Like, we had already went and had a marriage license. Alma got married. We had already, been living together and, in this thing, full force. And so now it's like on the job training, where I'm trying to learn of the supernatural and the spirit realm. But at the same time, I'm feeling the effects of what all he had attached to him. It was times it was started affecting my children. My children's behavior started going like haywire. I started having really interesting dreams with my children in them, and I would see things, and I would know, or really Holy Spirit will reveal to me, like, that spirit was beginning to try to dominate and even influence my children. And so, like, I started having like a very tumultuous relationship with my oldest son. My middle son it's like he just withdrew, into himself. Like, he just got real quiet. He wouldn't really talk. He wouldn't really engage. It was like he was just very, like, void of emotion. It was like, his behavior just started just really changing. It's like things, in the house started happening. I would hear growling noises, and we didn't even have a dog. I would see things. I was having like things attacking me at night, where things were physically holding me down and like crushing me, whispering in my ear in some other kind of language. There are times I've woke up and I've just heard voices of people talking, and no one was there. Like, I felt myself, like, it was like my mind was in an altered state. Like, it was like I couldn't even really focus on anything. I just was in this constant state of confusion. I was always depressed and stressed and sad, crying all the time. I was starting to have seizures again, when I wasn't even having seizures like that. I used to have seizures, and I just started having seizures again. Like, my whole life began to be literally just to be fall apart. And I didn't know why at first. I didn't understand that it was because of the doors that I opened by allowing him in our life, because I did not know what he was involved in and what was attached to him. And here it is, I opened myself, my children, and even my family, because he would be around. We were in a relationship, so he was around my family members. He was around my sister. They would talk on the phone. He was doing stuff for my niece. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I'm around his family, going places, doing things, his brothers, his mother, his people, and so we're in this thing, but I'm still not recognizing how dark things are really getting, right? And it got to the point where I just remember feeling like I just felt like he hated me, because it was like he could just be so cold. I dealt with so many things, especially with him cheating and other women. And it's like he really had no remorse. Like, he got caught red-handed. Like, a woman came to my house. You know what I'm saying? A woman sent me pictures of him naked in her bed. And he just seemed to, like, it just didn't faze him. And he always found a way to like blame me, like try to blame me for his choice or his bad behavior or why he's doing what he's doing. And because I was just, it was like a part of me wanted him to leave because he was just hurting me so much. Like my heart was being broken and shattered and tattered emotionally. I was just being crushed, you know, like I was, it just, I was in so much pain all the time, but there was still a part of me that thought I loved him and thought he loved me, because despite all of those things, then he would just come, you know, he'd be like, okay, well, let's go on a date night. Or he would come and he would just have all these gifts and all these bags, or, you know, he would, you know, give me money, you know, or he would just do something really nice, or he might come home for a couple of nights in a row, you know, we might, you know, go to dinner. Like he would just have a, you know, he had a way of, you know, making me feel like, okay, he's going to change, or okay, maybe, you know, this time he see, you know, but it just was, it never lasted long. It was always just like very temporary, and he reverted right back to that behavior. So I used to always think to myself, like, he's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like he can be so caring, so kind, so sweet, so loving, but in the same breath he could turn into this like monster and totally destroy and devour you. And so I started spiritually experiencing things. And I'll say this, what probably kept me from being totally overtaken is the fact that I had a real prayer life. Like I used to fast still. I used to pray. I was still, you know, going to church and stuff. I used to read my Bible. I used to worship all the time in the house. And I would feel like a lot of the times he would not come around is because I did those things. And so I'm just sure it's just the hand of God, because I was still, even though I had given the enemy a open door, right? I've given him legal right to my life, because I'm sinning, I'm fornicating, I'm involved with this person, you know, I'm connected to them, you know, and everything that they're doing, right? And he was doing some stuff, you know, he was living a life, a double life. So there were a lot of things that I had no idea he was doing that came out after we broke up the first time, you know, because he got into a situation and he had to go away. And it was during that time where stuff started coming up, and I'm just sitting there like, excuse me? Like, it's almost like when people tell you stuff like that, and you realize the seriousness of it, and you think to yourself, like, all this time this person could have, I'm laying next to someone, having someone in my home around my children who is literally dangerous, like in every meaning of the word, dangerous, not exaggerating, not figurative, not, you know, just because I'm trying to make it sound like, ooh, you know, so, you know, dramatic or anything, or no, like in every essence of the word. Mommy said that I was doing a video. Why are you can't be on the game or whatever, and whatever you're doing, can you not be doing that in the background, please? Anywho, you know, it was that serious, you know, and even given his current circumstance and where he is in his life, right, it speaks to the magnitude. And I'm just not at liberty, and it's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned, but it just goes to show the depth of danger I put myself and my children in, not just spiritually, because we were in spiritual danger as well, but it was physical, like, danger. And to think that you could be so blinded that you could put yourself, it's easy, you know, and my heart goes out to women that end up with the wrong man, right? You looking for love, your intention is pure, you desire a relationship, and you get with a man who sell you all the dreams, right? They tell you everything you want to hear, and it ends tragic, you know, where we see it on the news, we see it on Snaps, we see it in Lifetime movies, but that is real. Like, I know someone personally. I had a friend who was murdered by her son's father. because she was trying to leave him. And he tricked her, to come, to talk to him, saying that he just wanted to talk, and he murdered her. And it's like, it seems so far-fetched and surreal and unreal, but it's so real. And a lot of us, it's just the grace of God that it wasn't us. I'm not exempt. It is nothing but the grace of God that the enemy's plan to take me out, because I had several near-death experiences in this relationship, so that's how serious it got. That's how real it was, because the enemy is not coming to play patty cake. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy. The enemy do not care. And he was trying to use him to destroy me. And when he saw that he wouldn't physically put his hands on me or destroy me in like that kind of way, spiritually, I had a car accident in 2018. Like I said in the other episode, not even 24 hours after we got a marriage license. And I really thought, I thought that was the end of my life, truly. And you couldn't have told me that I was going to make it out of there. That's how bad that car accident was. And I think I forgot to insert the some of the pictures, so I may do it in this video if I remember. But it was serious. Like, I almost went out the windshield and everything. Like, I had a serious injury afterwards. And then after that, I went to have a back surgery that they were saying I needed as a result of that injury in 2019 in August. And I go to have this. It's supposed to be a same-day surgery, routine surgery, whatever. And I have anaphylactic shock so bad that I coded. I had no pulse. I wasn't breathing. And I still have my operative report, because they had to give me, because I have no memory of it, because I was under anesthesia. But they told me it was the worst case of anaphylactic shock they ever seen. And they weren't able to intubate me. I just literally at some point started breathing on my own. Like, the doctor had called my mother, because she was with my children at my house, and told them to prepare for me not to ever come back, that I was not going to make it. Like, my mom is in there right now. I don't have no reason. I have a son right here. He can let you know. Look, they can't see you. He said hi. But that happened to me. I woke up in ICU from what they didn't even get an opportunity to make the first incision on me. They didn't get an opportunity to even do the surgery. I had anaphylactic shock so quick, so fast, and so bad. They couldn't even do the surgery. I woke up in ICU. I couldn't even recognize myself. My whole body was swollen. I had an art line. If you don't know what that is, that's when they have to put a IV directly in your artery. They had to try to get the epinephrine in me that quickly, so to restart my heart. I had IVs everywhere. My whole body, everything was swollen. Like, it took me a long time to wake up. I kept waking up, going back to sleep, and I could hear the nurse saying, she's critical, she's critical. I could hear the beeping of machines and stuff like that, but I could not even open my eyes. I just kept going back out of it. By the time I came to, I don't know how many hours I was out. Having that kind of experience and that kind of trauma on your body, it took my body so long to recover. It took my body so long to recover from that. But that happened while I was in a relationship with him. And then I had anaphylactic shock again when they gave me an allergy test, because they had no idea what I was allergic to and what caused that reaction. So I had to go to an allergist and get an allergy test. And I'm so allergic to that medicine that even the allergy test sent me down, and they happened to be in the same building as an urgent care, and I ended up in urgent care. On top of, like I said, the multitude of attacks that I would have in my sleep, in my dreams, at night, things, it's like, even just things I was trying to do in my business. It's like things like I just couldn't catch, a break. I couldn't get ahead. Like, I couldn't really flourish. I couldn't grow. I couldn't succeed. It's like I couldn't stay focused. It was like, it just kept being something, it was like I felt like I was just stuck, just stuck in like a twilight zone. It was just like life was just like spiraling out of control, and I could not even catch myself, nor could I brace myself for impact. The impact kept coming like back to back to back to back to back, that I couldn't breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like, This is how serious it was. And this individual, like I said, a lot of the times, there was only one time that he actually showed remorse, and that's the time he really knew that I was going to leave him because of what he did. Because that's when that girl came to the house, and I was serious, and he knew it. And that was the only time he ever apologized, and he put forth effort to try to make sure that I didn't leave him, and he apologized, and and all the things, and he acted like he really cared. But all the other times, not really. But in the same breath, could look me right in my eye and tell me he loved me and he's in love with me, and he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. And so I say that because a lot of times when we're in these relationships with these individuals, we don't realize what's happening even spiritually. The bewitchment that's happening, the spells that's being put on you. And I know for me, back then, I couldn't even fathom the idea of like a spell, because I just really did not know people did witchcraft for real. I didn't know that. I mean, in my mind, I just didn't think people that was a thing. So I never would have considered. I never would have imagined, right? I didn't know people utilize demonic powers to hurt people or to control or manipulate them. I didn't know that. And you might look at me and you might sound like, girl, how could you be so naive? Or, that's silly, or, that's stupid. I just, the Bible says we perish for lack of knowledge. I had a lack of knowledge. Like, why would I know? I didn't know nobody that I knew of that was just witches, or, what I'm saying? I didn't never know nobody or see anybody doing no spells or anything like that. I didn't, like I said, then even when being in church and growing in under a ministry, they didn't talk about the supernatural and fallen angels and demons and the kingdom of darkness and stuff like that. So I really had no awareness. As far as I knew, it was just movies, like monsters in movies, or people do witchcraft in movies. But I didn't know people was doing that in real life. But it's a real thing, and people do it. And people even do, they utilize something called sex magic. Now, that was something I had never heard of, again, until a friend of mine, when I was giving her my testimony of the things that I went through, like I'm doing here on this platform. One of the things she said to me, she was like, oh, that sounds like he was doing sex magic on you. Because I was telling her how it was like he was just so sexual. It's just all about, sex. And, every time I went on a fast, and then in my fast, I would say, okay, I'm going to even, refrain from fornicating and all that. It was like he would pop up out of nowhere. I probably wouldn't have been saw him for days. And then out of nowhere, the moment I was fasting, or the moment I tried to make a vow to the Lord that I was going to no longer fornicate, he would come out of nowhere, and he would just have this very seductive aura, and he would be just very persistent, and, not really want to take a no for an answer. And looking back, because I had to research when she said sex magic, because again, I'm like, that ain't no thing. It's a real thing. It's actually a very ancient practice. There are whole, groups of individuals that practice it. There are books about it. There are people who, it's a thing. Google it if that's what the Lord leads you to do. But it's a real thing. And so once I did that research and looked and saw, it made all the sense in the world, because I kept feeling like I wanted to leave him, but I couldn't. It was like I felt like there was such a stronghold on me. Even when I was disgusted with him, I still, it was something still, like something was preventing me. And then I remember I would always have these dreams, and I had a few of these particular type of dreams where it was like in the dream I was trying to leave him, or he would come in the house or something in the dream, and I would get up and I would go to leave out the house, like I was trying to leave, and I would get a few steps away, and all of a sudden it would be these big old ferocious dogs, and they would just start barking at me like they want to attack me. And so then they would prevent me from being able to continue to go forward. And so I would turn and to go another way, and they would come that way as well. And to the point where I eventually had to go back to the house where he was at. I had several of those dreams, and because I really didn't understand a lot of symbols in dreams or dream interpretation, I didn't know what that meant. And I'm not going to get too deep into it because this ain't a video on dream interpretation, but Holy Spirit is allowing me to talk about it, and it might bless somebody because maybe somebody is having these similar type of dreams. And so what I found out is when you see dogs in dreams, they can mean a couple different things. And so it's not like a one, size fits all kind of thing. But when you see dogs and they're very ferocious and they're like trying to attack you or attacking you, that can represent like a spirit, right? That there's a spirit, and that spirit is like preventing you from leaving, right? Or it could represent witchcraft, that someone is doing witchcraft that's preventing you from leaving. Or it could mean perversion. So those are like three meanings, but it's not good, right? When the dog is, obviously preventing you from leaving or going where you're wanting to go, or biting you or trying to bite you, it's not a good sign. And you really want to go to prayer and seek the Lord on what it means and what you need to do. But I had quite a few of those type of dreams. And with the knowledge I have now, I understand that was me. I was seeing in the spirit what was happening in the spirit realm, right? Because again, our eyes are very much only looking at what's in front of us, but in the spirit, it's like what's behind the thing. And so a lot of times I was seeing what was behind it, but I just couldn't interpret it, right? And so he was definitely utilizing some type of manipulation, right? I can't say for sure if it was, casting spells, but I definitely believe he was utilizing sex as a means to manipulate and control me, which it is witchcraft. So these are things that I experienced, right? This was my true experience, and it was so debilitating to my soul, right? That even when I left him, it was like I was so broken and shattered. Like it was almost as if there was nothing left. Like I didn't even know what to do, right? And then there was like, I just was in this state, like it was almost like being frozen in time. Like I'm frozen in this state of just severe emotionalism, right? All I could do was cry. I was feeling physical pain, like there was pain, like my heart was literally broken. It was just like it almost felt like the tearing away of a soul tie, right? Like something was literally ripping apart and breaking. And I was unable to cope. I would just pray and beg God and ask God to help me and to stop it, because it was like I was just stuck in that place, right? I did not know how to move on. And at some point during our relationship, I started going to counseling, and I was seeing my Christian counselor, and she was excellent, right? But the thing is, he did not want me to be in counseling, so he will oftentimes try to, because I was doing it virtually, he would try to call when he knew I was on my appointment and stuff like that and stuff. So it was like I just didn't understand what his issue was with me trying to get healed and get help, because I started to realize before I really left him that that I had some issues, and my issues didn't stem from him. They stem from my childhood, right? The abuse that I experienced, the sexual abuse that I experienced, the abandonment from my father, the things that, that I had never healed from, right? The things that I had just continued to compartmentalize. And so I started to, from in prayer, right? Through lots of prayer and even some fasting, Holy Spirit began to reveal me. And I started to see, my areas of, woundedness. And I also started to really realize that on my own, I had an addiction to pornography and to masturbation, you know, and it wasn't a choice anymore. It was more of a, I can't stop. And so I was really wanting to work on myself and me being healed, because I wanted to be a better person, a better woman, a better mother. And so I started pursuing my healing. And you know, he just, you know, he kept trying to interfere with that. And then, you know, I even offered for him. I'm like, hey, why don't you join me? Like, we can do it together. And he's like, you know, no, I don't need to talk to no stranger. I want nobody in my business, this and that. And so I'm like, okay. So even after we broke up, I was still in counseling, because I went to counseling for like almost 2 years. And it was it was just so beneficial. It was such a blessing. And so I highly encourage any person, even if you're not in a, you know, abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship, or even if you're, you know, you just feel like you may have some things from your past or some things in life that you have not been able to overcome or heal from. I just highly encourage you to just really seek out some counseling or some therapy, you know, pray about it, ask the Holy Spirit to lead you to the right counselor. But you know, we can't do this on our own. And especially when you experience extreme trauma, extreme abuse, right? When you have been in these type of situations, it's not like, yes, prayer is good and prayer works, but we have to learn how to, you know, utilize all the things that God has blessed us with. He blessed us with people who have a gift of healing, right? And in the form of therapists. In the same way, when you're sick, you'll go to the doctor. Like, sometimes we got to be honest with ourselves, and we got to look in the mirror, and we got to say, hey, how did I get here? Like, what is in me that allowed me to be here, that allowed me to accept this, allowed me to continue to stay in this situation when I knew, you know, that it was hurting me and it wasn't beneficial, right? And that's a great place to be in. It's hard, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but it's great, because then you are able to identify some of the roots of of why you have the behavior or the mindset or the personality that you have, you know, or why you're attracting this type of person. Because going back to the thing about attraction, I'm not big on law of attraction. I don't get into that kind of thing. I believe in the Bible. I believe in Jesus Christ. But see, what everything has truth to it, right? And a lot of times the enemy just likes to pervert, you know, things that God created. And so with that being said, because certain spirits, like for example, again, Jezebel is going to be attracted to Ahab type of personality. So there is a certain type of attraction that is there that will cause you to keep attracting the same type of guy. Because I started feeling like I date the same guy over and over again, just a different face, but he's the same dude. Like, literally, like I literally took my last two exes, and I had just put a paper on a piece of paper, and I wrote their names on one side, the other name on the other side, and I just kind of made a list of the similarities in them. And by the time I got done, I was so blown away, because it was literally like they were the same exact person to the T. They had done the exact same things, even said some of the exact same things, had the same exact behaviors. I mean, it was like they were the same person. And I started to realize there was a pattern, that I continually attract this kind of man. And so I needed to understand why. And so that's how I really started my journey. Like, I started my journey just really pursuing healing and just trying to pursue, you know, truly like get to the core of like of me, like, and how did I get here, and why am I this way? Why do I have these traits? Why do I struggle in this area with this? You know, why do I have these this hair is itching my eye, y'all. That's why I keep messing with it, because it's like annoying me. It keep itching me so bad. But nevertheless, like, I just wanted to be healed. Like, I just knew that I was broken. And I knew the reason why I kept being in these type of relationships and why I was going to settle. I would have stayed with him. Like, if he would have just even started pretending for over a period of time that he was like changing or changed or anything like that, I probably would have stayed with him had I not ever got healed. And had I not really just went to God and begged God and pleaded with God to help me and get me out. Because I could not leave on my own. I'm telling y'all, I wanted to leave and there was something preventing me. And I did leave him probably 4 or 5 times, and I went back. After no communication, after changing my phone number, changing my email, deleting all type of anything of him, removing everything from my house, everything from my life that is connected to him or that was, you know, anything that represented him or was from him. I literally cleaned my life, cleaned my house. Like I said, changed my number, changed emails, changed everything. And some kind of way, after so many months, for out of nowhere, this feeling would, like, it would just come over me. Or a lot of times it would start with a dream. A lot of times it would start with a dream. I would be fine. I wouldn't be thinking about this dude. I'd be going on with life. And then all of a sudden, it's like I would have a dream. And in the dream, like I'm seeing him in the dream. And I'm like, and it's like I miss him and I desire him. And I, you know, and I want to see how he's doing. Or like we engage and like we together in the dream. And then I would wake up and like some of the feelings would come to the surface again, where I thought the feelings were gone, but the dream would trigger feelings, and all of a sudden this overwhelming desire of and emotions would just flood over me, and I would find myself going and opening that door back up. And I did, you know, and because I just want to be honest. And two, I want you to be gracious with yourself, sis. Like if that's you, like if you feel like you left him or you want to leave him and you tried to leave and you went back, don't beat yourself up, because it's not as easy as people think it is. It's always easy for the outside person to say, girl, just leave him. Girl, just leave him. Girl, I don't understand. I don't even know why I don't even know why you with him anyway. He ain't nothing, he do this, he do, blah, blah, blah. It's easy for them to say because they're not in it. You created a soul tie with this person. And that soul tie, and that connection really is created for two married people. And it's not really meant to be broken. That's why in Ecclesiastes, 4:12 is a 3-strand cord, not easily broken. It's not meant to really be broken. So that's why it's so painful when we have to break off these relationships. And it's so painful when we, are, going through the breakup, even if it was a bad relationship, even if it was a toxic relationship, because you had intertwined your entire soul, your mind, your will, your emotions, your intellect with this individual. So sis, be gracious with yourself, because I've been there. I did that. As terrible. And like I said, there are just things that I have not said. Just know it was bad. Just know it was the worst of the worst experience in a relationship with a person I've ever had in my life. Just know that it's just the grace of God that I'm here today. Okay? But I kept going back. I'm telling you, it would be months. It could be 4 months. It could be almost 5 months. I would go with no communication. And then it was like, so I don't know if he was doing something or if that was just the spirit spouse, because that's a whole nother thing. A lot of times we come into agreement with a spirit spouse when we indulge with certain people and we're fornicating, and doing those things. And so what a spirit spouse is, it's a very territorial spirit, a very jealous spirit that marries itself to you, because that's what fornication really does. That sex and within marriage, it consummates the marriage. It's the spiritual and physical act of the two becoming one flesh, right? And so because we end up becoming one flesh with people that we shouldn't and that we're not married to, and we don't know what spirits are on them, we don't know what they are involved in, or what may be on their bloodline that they have not dealt with, and now we come into agreement with it. And so that spirit spouse, and the spirit has a legal right to you until you break that that covenant and break that that tie, right? And so I think what was happening was it was like I could only go so far. It was like me being on a invisible leash, if you will. that I didn't know was there. Or even, you know, you think about those invisible fences that some pet owners have, that you don't see this fence. And they got their big old ferocious dog out in the yard, and you think to yourself, like, why is this dog not tied up? Where the people at? And the dog looks like it's about to come at you, and it starts charging after you, and then it gets to a certain point, and all of a sudden it stops. And it can't go past that point, right? But you don't see what's there. Come on, somebody. That's the Lord. Come on. That just came to me. But it was like, that's what my life felt like in that time. It felt like I had this freedom of, I left him, I've moved on, I've released, I've let go, I've renounced, I've repented, I've, you know, prayed, I've fasted, I've done all the things. And I'm like thinking I'm free. I'm thinking I can move on, I can go forward, I'm over him, I'm never going back to him. And it's like I would get so far, and boom, it would pull me back in. And I went through that cycle probably about 4 or 5 times until that very last time I knew that I knew, right? I knew when I left him the first time. But again, the familiarity, right? My mind had left him, but my heart didn't. So I was very much still holding on to that connection in my heart, right? And so it was just like I kept going back, and two, it was familiar. You know, sometimes we normalize or familiarize the dysfunction, right? Because we've been in it so long. And so I just kept going back, and I didn't even know why, because I would think to myself, you know, when I would get off the phone with him or something, like, why am I even talking to this guy? Like, I know he not right. Like, I know he not the one. I know he's not God's best for me, but why? You know, because counseling really, like I said, really helped me to really understand, you know, myself, my proclivities, my biases, you know, my sin nature, why I was the way I was, helped me to identify some things, pull up some roots, shut some doors. So I gotten stronger, right? But there was still that weakness. And so every time I would go back, it was like I would get to a point where, like, I'm like, no, I can't do this. This not God. I'm being disobedient. I know better than to go back to the very thing the Lord delivered me from. And so eventually I would cut it off again. And then I would go another, it could be 4 or 5 months. And the same thing. It was like either I would have a dream, or there would just be this, it's like something would just come over me. It's like literally like something would just come over me, where all of a sudden I would just feel emotion, and I would just feel, you know, just like this, like I miss him. I need to talk to him. I wonder how he's doing. You know, I want to know, like, I never felt like I wanted to be with him, but it was just always more like a concern, like a care, like, is he okay? I just want to check on him. And then, you know, sometimes it was like the thought would all of, like, want to come into my mind to say, maybe he is the one. You know, maybe, you know, and so like I would go through this whole cycle, and the next thing you know, I would find myself opening that door again. And I just couldn't understand that. And so the last time I did that, and I had even moved out of the state. Like I was even moved out of the state. I was living somewhere else. And even being in another state, I started having dreams. I kid you not. I started having dreams. And again, it was like something started awakening. These feelings started to flood. They started to come to the surface. I just had this openness, this desire. And I kind of tried to fight that for a while. So I didn't really contact him or anything like that while I was still living out of state. But we happened to move back here. And so we had to come back to where we were from. And for whatever reason, you know, I just went out of my way to connect, to figure out how to, you know, reach him, because he wasn't really local or nothing like that. And so I went out of my way to get in communication with him, and was able to, and open that door again. And it was just like, oh my gosh, girl, what are you doing? Like, by this time, God had restored me. I had already given up everything. I had to get rid of everything. I had to be, a lot of the stuff I had to get rid of because he had got it or bought it. So I had to get rid of my entire wardrobe, like everything. I'm talking about panties, socks, like all the everything, my purses, bags, shoes, because he bought me all that stuff. Like because he would always go on shopping sprees and stuff like that, and like buy me all this stuff. I had to get coats and everything, jewelry. I had everything Pandora because that was my favorite, and he knew that. So I had to get rid of my jewelry. I had to get rid of my furniture because he had bought some of the furniture. I had to give him his car back. I had to get rid of. I'm talking about literally by the time I got done getting rid of everything, we were living in an empty house and we didn't have anything. I ended up having to throw away one of my one of their game systems because he had got one of their game systems. Like I literally had to literally purge myself from him. It was necessary. And so I'll stop here because people thought I was crazy. People was laughing and mocking me and talking about me because we were sleeping in an empty house and we were sleeping on the floor. We had nothing. I had no car. I had no money. Like, we were eating on the floor. Like, we were just living in a house and it was empty. We had our essentials. We had gas, electric, food, water. We had all that, but we didn't have clothing, really, nothing. And so when I felt the Holy Spirit start telling me to get rid of stuff, I just did it. Like, it was something in me that just knew I needed to do it. I didn't question it or anything, and I didn't really know why. But it was a hard thing because it wasn't all at once. It was little by little. Like, I had to get rid of big old flat screen TVs, 70-inch, maybe it was 65-inch or whatever. Don't just putting them on the curb. Nothing was wrong with them. Vacuum clean, like everything. Like like you can imagine. You've been living. I was living in my house 13 years. And I had acquired a lot of new stuff while me and him were together. And a lot of it, like I said, he had bought or, was involved in buying or whatever. So over time, it was just like one day I wake up and Holy Spirit would be like, okay, get rid of this. And I would just go start getting rid of it. Now, the hardest thing for me to get rid of was my Pandora jewelry. Because number one, I love Pandora jewelry. I have the Lord's grace me to be able to rebuy myself some, but I had a lot of it, and it was very sentimental to me because if anyone wears Pandora, you know that your charms and your jewelry they have specific meanings to them. So a lot of the charms and stuff that I had meanings, like meant like love you forever, my wife, this and that. They all have very they were very symbolic, and so it was like very near and dear to my heart. So when the Lord told me to give it all away, like I had to throw it away. I couldn't, I didn't sell anything. I had stuff that I had designer stuff, so I could have sold it for real. And we were in a place where I didn't have a job, I didn't have income, I didn't have money. So the stuff that I got rid of, even my whole bedroom suite, new dining room table set that was very expensive, brand new. I didn't have it that long. All kind of stuff that I could have sold it and made money, right? But a lot of time, Lord just was like, no, just throw it away. I couldn't even give it to people. I gave, I think, my bedroom suite to someone and my dining room table set to someone. But other than that, everything else, I just threw it away. And I just didn't think nothing of it. I just trusted God in that. And, by the time I moved out of state, the Lord had restored me completely. I mean, I furnished our house from top to bottom, cash, because we was living in an empty house. We needed it. I bought a car, cash. I was able to, everything that was lost, everything that we had to give up, God replaced it double, better. He gave me, I had better than what I had. And so I was good, right? I was good financially. I was good, emotionally, and I had no reason really to go back to open that door, other than the fact that soul tie wasn't broken. Because sometimes certain soul ties are stubborn, or it just depends on what spirit truly is there. Is it a strong man? Is it a high ruling spirit? Because every spirit isn't the same. So what may work, a certain prayer and fasting may work to deliver you from a particular spirit, and sometimes it won't. You need more. Sometimes you need to go through whole deliverance. you know, and have somebody perform deliverance on you and different things. So, it's again, it comes with keep constantly seeking God. Even if you're in the midst of it and you don't feel like you have a way out and you don't know what to do, because I know what that's like. I was there. Keep seeking God, because God will answer you, because he is a good, loving God. He will give you those answers. He will reveal to you. He will show you great and mighty things you do not know. I'm talking from experience, because the reason why I even have the knowledge and the experience that I have today is because God, he began to answer my prayer, and I just had to learn why I was in it, right? But it still worked for my good. When he says that all things work together for your good, now I have a level of understanding of spiritual things and deliverance and stuff that I didn't know, that's very beneficial for my own life and my own family, but for even others. And so, it's like God can turn any situation and bring good about out of it. But if you just don't know where to go and where to start, just keep praying, keep seeking God, right? Don't worry about, oh, okay, well, I keep letting him come back. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about, oh, I keep falling into this, fornication, and we keep having sex. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I know, he, it's so, angry all the time, and, this and that, and I don't want to anger him, or, people are, talking about me, they're laughing at me, that I'm humiliated. Don't worry about none of that. Keep seeking God. When you're sincere in your heart and you go to God and you're honest and you tell him, Father, I want to get out, but I don't know how, and I need you to help me, he will. Because that's how I got off the very last time, and I have not looked back since. And that was in, I think, February of 2022. I just got to that point, like we were communicating. We never got back in a relationship, but we would communicate. And we would just talk all the time, we'd talk all the time. And then, like, he started, like, he was trying to give me some money or something. And something just kept telling me, like, don't take the money, because that's another thing, is agreement. You have to be mindful, not just with fornicating and sin, because yes, that's a door opener, and that is a way to create a soul tie as well. But even just things like accepting gifts, accepting money, because we don't always know what a person do for money, where to get the money, excuse me, or what they pray over the money, or put on the money, and again, I didn't think like that. I do now. And so, it matters, right? And so he was trying to, like, give me some money, but I didn't need no money. So I was like, I just kept giving him excuses why I didn't want to take it. And then I started thinking to myself, like, well, why you don't want to take it, Janelle? And, like, if you know that the way he get money is illegal, or that you don't want to be involved, why are you even talking to him? Like, how did you even get back here? Like, what are you doing? And I had to go through this whole thing, right? And I remember just in there, and I started having attacks again in my dreams and at night. And I just was in my office one day, and I literally just broke down. I broke down, and I was crying, like crying profusely. It was like I was pouring out my soul to the Lord, and I just gave the Lord a vow. I said, Lord, please, I don't know. I was like, why do I feel like I'm on a spring, and no matter, like, I can only get so far, and I keep coming back to him, and I don't want to, I don't want to. I know he's not for me. I know you said he's not the one. I know that. I'm like, but Lord, for some reason I keep being pulled back, and I don't understand why. Why do I keep being pulled back? What is this? And I'm like, Lord, I give you my word. If you get me out this time, I promise I will not go back. It did not take long. And I was sincere. I was not joking, because I knew that that as long as I was in communication with him, I was giving the enemy an open door to my life to kill, steal, and destroy, and that I wasn't going to be able to have the life that God has for me. And it was not going to be, it wasn't going to be in well. You know what I'm saying? It's like I just knew in my heart. And so I was like, Lord, I just don't want this no more. And I'm going to tell you, that day, all of a sudden it was like, and I was crying for a long time, probably maybe an hour or so, like just crying, because I was saying all kind of things, just really pouring out my heart to God. And after I just had this moment, just this very naked moment before the Lord, in desperation, like I was desperate. And sometimes, like, that's when it'll happen. Like, if you're not desperate enough, then sometimes, you're not tired yet. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just, when we're family members and friends of people who are in these type of situations, you just have to be supportive, right? Support your friend or your loved one. Love them and pray for them. They don't need you judging them. They don't need you telling them, girl, you stupid, or girl, you need to leave, or girl, he ain't right. You know he did it. A lot of times they know. You just have to support them because they just ain't got to that place yet, right? You got to get serious. You have to be desperate. And I was desperate. I was so desperate that I was willing to do whatever I needed to do. And so that day, it didn't take long. All of a sudden, it was like I just got this strength, this supernatural strength. And I just immediately got up, shot him an email, ended it, and I made sure I was not harsh. I wasn't, mean. I didn't say anything, that was negative to him, but I just made it very clear. And then after that, I deleted every type of anything, any way that I knew he could communicate with me or I could communicate with him. I deleted it. I removed it off my phone. I blocked the number that he would call me from. I blocked it. And I just got rid of everything and changed everything and removed everything that I could and that I had that would even allow me to have any communication with him. And I was done. I was done. It was like I had a release, right? It was like something lifted and I had a release, and I have not tried to contact him. I have not been curious. There are moments of times where he come to my mind and I pray for him because, the Bible says that the Lord wants none to perish, right? He wants all to come to repentance. So I do pray for him. I prayed for him, his soul to be saved. I prayed for him to come to the Lord wholeheartedly. Like, seriously, like I don't have no ill feelings, no negative feelings toward him no more. I used to. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I hated him for a long time. I was angry. I was so angry for a long time. And that was another reason why I knew, like, I couldn't keep talking to him because I couldn't get past. It was like a part of me couldn't even heal enough to get past the anger. And the more I talked to him, the more it's like it just reopened so many things. And I just couldn't let things go. And I would always bring it up. And so, but that last time, y'all, when I just really just cried out to God, he heard my cry and he answered me and he delivered me. And I never looked back. And he contacted me. He used somebody else's number probably like some weeks later because he had been trying to call me because you could still see a number that's on your block list. Like when they're calling you, they're leaving voice messages. So I would see the voice messages and stuff on my phone and I would just delete them. So I knew he was trying to contact me. So probably after a couple weeks, he ended up calling me through someone else and I did not know the number. So I answered it. And when I answered it, it was his voice. And I just was like, I just sat there for a minute, for a few seconds. And then he, was talking about how he needed me. He needed to talk to me. He needed to talk to me. He needed to tell me something. So I'm like, tell me what? You know what I'm saying? He's just like, he needed to tell me something so bad. So I'm like, well, just tell me right now. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, no, I can't tell you right now. I need to better call you. I need to call you. And I said, you don't need to call me. And he was like, yes, I do. I said, well, listen, if you can't tell me why you got me on the phone right now, then you ain't gonna tell me. And he was just like, F you, B. And I just hung up the phone. And I put that number on the blacklist. And from that moment, never heard from him again. And I've changed my number since. Even got a new phone. Sometimes you just got to go to extreme measures. You got to do what you got to do for you to stay safe, and just to keep the door closed and to protect yourself. And so I had to go through those extreme measures. But to this day, I have been free from that cycle of continually going back and, feeling like I want to go back and, and still even like those feelings are not there anymore. I don't have those emotions for him anymore. Like I said, I'm able to, if he come across my mind or something, to pray for him and just move and keep it moving. Like I don't wonder or want to know or, want to reach out or nothing like that. I was able to really do more healing the Lord was really able to show me more deeper things that counseling was not able to, really uncover. And that's the thing about healing, right? Healing is layered. Like it's like an onion, right? You go through one layer of healing, and then there's another, and there's another. Especially when you think of, sometimes we've been carrying things from childhood, so that's like compounding. And then if you experience trauma in your teenage years or your adulthood or whatever, it just kind of, it compounds on top of each other. And so now you have all of this that you need to try to work through, and you can't work through it all at once. And so you have to go through the process. Healing is a journey, right? It's not a marathon. I mean, it's not a sprint, excuse me. It's a marathon. It's a journey. And we always may be in some stage of healing, right? And so I really began to understand really myself and learning, why I was a people pleaser. Why, did I have a attachment style that was ambivalent, and because that was another thing I learned in being in this relationship, attachment styles. And that's something you can look up as well. And so it's like 4, I think, main unhealthy attachment styles. And then the main healthy attachment style is a secure attachment style, where you are whole, you're healthy, you're able to communicate, you're emotionally available, you're emotionally intelligent, right? You can express yourself, you can accept no, you can recover, you can move forward, like, and you can engage with someone in a healthy way, right? In a relationship, whether it's romantic or, friendship, family, whatever. That is like the ultimate goal for everyone, to be having a secure attachment style. Because based on your attachment style, that is what you tend to attract and you gravitate toward. And so I discovered that I was what they call an ambivalent, or what was the other word for it, Lord? I can't think of it. But if you look up attachment styles, you will find it, and you can read through them, and you can identify yours, and they might have like a little quiz or something. And then his was like a fearful avoidant or something. And the way you can identify yours or even your partner's is it's going to list characteristics and behaviors under each one, and you will know which one you identify with. So that's how I was able to identify mine. Well, your attachment style is developed in infancy and in early childhood. So the way you attach to your parent or your guardian or whomever raised you, or the way you did not, bond with them or attach to them, it shapes how your attachment style, which then you live the rest of your life out of your attachment style, even if it's insecure. So it's called insecure ambivalent, where, it's like you're vacillating, or you're always, waiting for, things to fall apart or something bad to happen, or, it, again, because I'm not a psychologist, so by all means, guys, look it up. It's very good. I even go through some of that in my coaching practice, and when I deal with relationships, because it's very important. It's very significant, because if you don't understand why you do what you do, it's hard for you to, make those necessary changes. And so the Lord gave me that revelation, and in my study of that, when it came to me identifying his attachment style, because I was able to do so fairly easily, what it said was my insecure attachment style is attracted to and drawn to and attracts his particular attachment style. So it wasn't even no coincidence, right? It just was like, wow, it was a whole nother level of a revelation and epiphany. It's like, even if I took the spiritual part out of it, even if I didn't even identify the spiritual part of me having more of that passive Ahab-like personality, and him having that more aggressive, controlling, seductive, manipulative personality like Jezebel, even if I took that part out of it and just simply looked at science, right? Simply looked at psychology, it even said it there. And so I was like, wow, Lord, this is deep. And so then you're able to learn how to get to that secure space, right? So you're able to identify the root. So now you can deal with this root, and now you can learn how to get to that place of being healthy and whole. And so that was another thing that I learned is, that because I often was coming from an insecure place, I was often, attracted insecure, whether it was an insecure, fearful, an insecure, avoidant, insecure, ambivalent, whatever. I wasn't attracting a secure person because I didn't operate out of that place yet. And so then I was able to start going through the process of becoming more secure in my attachment styles and how I relate and attach in relationships, which also helps not to continually attract that same type of person that is, in that insecure attachment style. In the same way with spiritually, like when you start being delivered. So we're going to touch on deliverance a little bit, and I'm going to end this video because healing for me was a culmination of spiritual and natural, right? What do I mean by that? I had to go through the deliverance. Like, I went through several sessions, to be honest, and not just because of what I was involved with or dealt with because of the relationship I was in, but there were things in my generations that go back generations upon generations that I did not know. But the Lord started to show me the pattern, right, in my family members, that most of us, if we sit down and look at our family and just look at maybe one generation, you can see a pattern. And then you can go to the next generation and you can see, like, some families have a pattern of alcoholism, where you might hear a family was like, oh, you are drunk just like daddy, or you drunk just like your granddaddy, or people say stuff like that, or they might say stuff like all the women is unmarried, or all the women is divorced, or all the men, it's like a pattern of some kind, or addiction, like there's some kind of addiction, drug addiction, whatever the case may be, you can see it in multiple different people in multiple generations, that those are signs of a generational curse. And a lot of times when we're not aware that some things have nothing to do with us, like we didn't physically do anything, but maybe an ancestor opened a door. Maybe an ancestor did something to, give the enemy an opportunity to bring this particular curse or this particular covenant or this particular altar in the bloodline, and because it has never been destroyed, it's perpetuating. So this might be why there may be a curse of singleness in your family. So this is why it seems like nobody, get married. There may be a curse of divorce. It might seem like everybody get divorced. It could be a curse of infidelity where, your spouse always cheating. It's so many things. And so sometimes you got to really go back, right? And so I had to go get deliverance. I had to identify via the Holy Spirit, through prayer and fasting, some of these open doors, right, where the enemy had come in and set up some kind of stronghold in the bloodline that was keeping me in certain cycles and patterns. So that was a part of my healing. Like, I had to go, and for me, deliverance was not a one and done. I had to go to several, because again, just like our healing is layered, your deliverance can be layered, because it depends on how deep, or how far back, or how dark things are, right, that it may take multiple deliverance sessions. So I had to go through deliverance, and I had to change my lifestyle. Like, I had to make some lifestyle changes. When it came to me being delivered from masturbation, pornography, and fornication, I had to have up some strong boundaries where I don't watch certain things. I don't listen to certain things. I don't try to engage in certain conversations. I'm just very cautious about, guarding my mind, guarding my heart, so I just have strong boundaries. I don't just casually date. I don't casually date just because, I'm at a place in life where I'm very clear on what it is I want. And I want to be married, and I want to date with purpose. So I'm not here just to have fun. I've had fun before. I've had a real fun life. Like, I've done a lot of things in my life and in my past. So it's like, it's not exciting to me like that. I'm okay with being abstinent and just, waiting on God, right? I'm okay with that. Guys, hold on. Sorry, my phone is ringing. I'm really okay with that. And so it's a culmination, right? And like I said, I went to counseling, and I'll go back, right? I had to really own me, my part in it. I had to identify and be honest with myself, like, Janelle, you're a people pleaser. Like, Janelle, you don't know how to say no. Like, you put men on pedestals. You idolize marriage. Like, I had to be honest with myself, and I had to go to God and ask him to help me with these things, right? To help me to be delivered, help me to overcome, help me to change my mind concerning these things. Like, I had to learn what love was. I had to study it out. I had to read, 1 Corinthians 13:4 and 8. And I really had to study it, and I really had to study the words and look at it in different translations and look at Hebrew, Greek, and words and this and that. I really had to get an understanding of what love was, what marriage was. So it was just a combination of so many things, right? Healing and becoming whole. It's not necessarily a one particular formula, because we're all different. We all have different experiences, right? We come from different families. We, come from different backgrounds. And so, yeah, it may be like some similarities, like you might go to counseling, but maybe the way your counselor, you know, helps you is maybe in a different strategy than what my counselor used. You might don't need to go to deliverance. You might need deliverance. You might need more deliverance. But it's not to compare. It's not to, think, oh, something must be more worse wrong with me because I feel like I got to do more. It's about being free. And whatever it takes for you to be free, you do what you need to do. Let the Lord lead you, because only he knows, right? I didn't know that I was going to have to go through deliverance so many times. I didn't know that I was going to have to renounce and, start learning about altars and tearing down altars and, doing all of these things. I didn't know. I didn't know that I was going to have to keep, warring against that soul tie, because it kept trying to come back up. I've had dreams. I've had dreams with him in it. I had dreams with that I didn't see him physically, but the presence in the dreams, I knew it was him. Like, it has happened, but you got to constantly fight against it, right? Because the enemy is always going to try to come back. Even when you get deliverance, you have to learn how to live out your deliverance, right? And so as long as I continue to keep myself pure, keep them boundaries up, don't open no doors, don't slip up, I'm not even, like I said, I don't even associate with people like his family, friends. So what? I don't care how cool he was. I was super cool and close with one of his brothers. Matter of fact, the brother would call me sister and was basically like, felt like I was just as much as his blood as his actual brother, that they had the same mother. But that don't matter. When it came to my deliverance and my healing, I had to put up that boundary, and I had to end those relationships, because I couldn't keep any type of open door. I couldn't keep any type of open door. And lastly, I just had to learn to love me. Like, I had to fall in love with me. I had to learn who I was, right? I had to get to know me. I had to spend time with me. I had to date me, right? I had to invest in me, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know me. And as I evolved and as I healed, I really didn't know me. So I had to take time, right? I had to take time to really get to know myself. And and God has just been gracious. God has been good, because I've experienced so many things, so many horrible, traumatic things in my life. Not just with my last relationship, but even just in life, period. Early adulthood. In my 20s, I was raped by someone that I knew and trusted. I have been, molested and abused. I have been abandoned and rejected, like a lot of us have, right? I have been, emotionally and mentally, abused. I've never been physically abused, but I've been spiritually, emotionally, and mentally abused, right? I've been taken advantage of, so many things. But it's just by the grace of God that I'm still here today, and I can still smile, and I can make this video, and it doesn't bring any negative emotions to the surface. It doesn't, make me feel away. I'm free, right? I'm free. And that's why I'm trying my best, even in explaining some of the things that I went through, or the things that he did, or the characteristics he had, not to just bash him, because I'm free. I'm over. It's not about bashing him. Like, I don't need to do that. Yes, he did do some things. He did some great things in our relationship, and he did a lot of not so great things. But I'm not here to tear him down. Again, my prayer is for him to get healed, for him to get saved, for him to get delivered, right? That is my sincere prayer for him. But for me, I just am like, I'm going to love me, and I'm not going to settle. The biggest thing that I can really stress to you is, don't settle, sis. Like, you have no idea what God has for you. You don't know the man that God is constantly shaping and molding and preparing for, that he has for you. And when we get distracted with these other relationships and these counterfeits and these other men, we just we prolong the time, right? Or we already have someone in the space that this person can't come, because we have this person here. And so it's like, we got to know the God that we serve. We have to know our Father, that he loves us with an everlasting love, so much so that he gave his only begotten son. So you can't think for one moment that God's best for you is for you to be in a relationship where you are being abused, or you are being, manipulated or controlled, or you are being mistreated, right? You're being devalued, right? You're being, walked all over. No. You're being lied to. You're being cheated on. No, that is not what God has for you. That is not God's best. He said his plans for you is for a hope and a future, and to bring you to an expected end. Like, what he has for you is sometimes we can't even fathom. Like, when the Bible tells us, eyes have not seen it, nor have ears heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of man, what God will do for those who love him. You have to trust that. You have to know that God loves you so much that he has a particular person in mind for you, and that person will love you with the love of God. He will love you like Christ loved the church. He will honor and respect you. He will be faithful and loyal. He'll be gentle with your heart, right? You don't got to force nobody to love you. You don't have to force nobody to see your worth and your value. You don't have to force nobody to choose you. The person that God has for you, the man God has for you, he's going to choose you. He's going to see you, and he's going to want you, because he's going to know that you are the one that the Lord has been waiting for him, right? So be encouraged, sis. I pray that my testimony encouraged you. I know at some points I was all over the place. Bear with me. This is my first time recording my testimony like this. I have given some of my testimony on my podcast. If you guys want to hear a little more, or maybe about some other things I experienced, go over to the Purity After Promiscuity podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podbean, and a few other platforms. But please feel free to go over there and listen, because I have a whole podcast dedicated to help women to overcome, a history of promiscuity, a history of sexual, sin or sexual abuse, and to walk, fully and authentically in who they are, in their identity, and in purity. So if you guys want to hear more about that, please go over to the Purity After Promiscuity podcast. But again, if you guys, if this mini-series blessed you, this episode blessed you, let me know. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, share. If you know anybody, if you have a sister or someone that you know that may need to hear my testimony, please feel free. And if you have any questions, like, again, because there's just some things, I can't make this thing, super long. Like, it would just be so long if I went through every single detail, right, and said everything. But if you have any questions, or you want me to pray for you, you can reach out to me. You can leave a comment. I'll shoot you my email, or my email should be in my description, on my about, and I would love to pray with you. But Again, this is just to glorify God, just to say he's able. Don't matter what the situation is. It don't matter how deep, how dark. It don't matter how long you've been there. It does not matter. God will give you a way of escape, right? He will deliver you. He will help you. He will set you free. He desires to. You have to just understand that you have to invite God in, right? You have to ask him. You have to just call on him and he will answer you. And so be encouraged, my sister, and know that God loves you so much that he had me get on here to tell my testimony for someone, so they'll know that if he did it for me, he'll do it for you. And you can come out on the winning side. And out of all of this, it birthed a podcast. I got a podcast called Purity After Promiscuity. Like I just told y'all, I got a coaching practice called Redefining My Worth, right? I do speaking engagements. I have now this YouTube channel. So what was meant for evil, God can turn for good. And I'm sure there's many more things to come, because God is not a God who wastes anything. Whatever it is, all things, right? All things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purposes. So yes, it may seem ugly in the moment. Yes, you might seem like it's hopeless or you don't see how anything good could come out of it. But trust me, you serve a God who can make the impossible possible. And he can turn your mess into a message. And you never know where you might go and who might need to hear your story. So be encouraged and be blessed, my sisters. I will see you guys next time on the next video. Until then, I love you with the love of God.